y'all, welcome back to my channel. My name is Evelyn and this is Here There Be Magic, where we talk about the magic of all things storytelling. Today I'm going to be recommending to you 5 of my favorite sports books. Happy Pride Month, everyone! This video was not supposed to release during June. It was supposed to release in the last week of May, but due to several issues exporting last week's video, I'm a little bit behind, and so you get sports books. But not to fear, because this video is a little bit gayer than I was expecting it to be. So for a little bit of context, I am not the kind of person anyone would ever describe as sporty. I did about 10 years of dance, 4 years of marching band. That's as close as I ever got. Despite sitting through 4 years worth of football and basketball games for pep band, do I know the rules of either football or basketball? No, not at all. The only time that I get invested in sports is during Olympic season, when I get really into women's gymnastics without knowing anything about women's gymnastics. Same thing for Winter Olympics. I get really into figure skating. Do I know the rules of figure skating? Absolutely not. And so none of my opinions are valid, but they are strongly held. On the other hand, my mother is the kind of person you might describe as sporty. She did sports growing up, and she still follows football and basketball and knows the names of teams and the scores and understands what a March Madness bracket is. I literally live on the University of Iowa campus. I used to live directly next to Kinnick Stadium, and my mom still tells me when the Hawkeyes win games. She finds out before me. The downside to my mother being a sports person is that sometimes she makes my father and I watch sports movies. And for most of my life, I have not been able to get into a sports narrative. I just really don't care about the underdogs winning. I just don't. Unless it's A League of Their Own. A League of Their Own was the first sports narrative that I legitimately cared about. Is that because it was the first sports narrative that I watched that focused on women? Probably. But even more importantly, I think it's because that movie's really fucking gay. That's right. This video isn't just about sports books that I love. All of these sports books that I put on this list, fucking gay as hell. The only way I care about sports is when it's gay as hell. Or when I'm being gay as hell watching women's gymnastics. Okay, so without further ado, here are 5 sports books that I actually liked, and I think you will too. Starting with the book that inspired this recommendations list, Home Field Advantage by Dahlia Adler. The Atherton football team has been thrown into disarray. First, their beloved quarterback dies in a car accident, then he's replaced by a girl. Jacqueline Jack Walsh blew up her whole family for the chance to play football, but her new team refuses to work with her. Amber McLeod wants to be head cheerleader one day, but it's difficult to cheer on a team when they're all plotting to take down their new QB, especially when the guy whose memory they're protecting was the actual worst. Standing up for Jack may put Amber's social standing in danger, but the more the two of them interact, the more she's drawn to her. That's right, this is a classic cheerleader football player romance, but make it sapphic because we love taking things away from the straights. If you watched last week's video, then you know how much I adored this book. Dahlia Adler got me so invested in Amber and Jack as characters that I actually cried over the outcome of a fictional football game. Which is mind-blowing to me. This book has so much of what I look for in a contemporary novel. The wittiest of banter, strong yet complicated friendship dynamics, commentary on growing up queer in a small town, critiques of high school social classes, and to top it all off, a really, really adorable prom scene. Plus, the final, third of the book was so deliciously twisty. I did not know what was going to happen next. It was amazing. It's one of my favorite reading experiences I've had this year. I think this is one of the strongest books of 2022. It actually releases tomorrow, so you still have a chance to pre-order it if you're watching it today. On Monday, it releases Tuesday the 7th, and by God, I hope I am posting this video on Monday the 6th. There's a really cute pre-order campaign that also has a library request option, so hurry, 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 and get those receipts turned in. Next we have Like Other Girls by Britta Lundin. After getting kicked off of the basketball team for punching a teammate, Mara Diebel must prove she's got a handle on her aggression by joining a fall team sport and making it through the entire season without getting into another fight. Her coach suggests volleyball, but Mara cannot stand how girly they all are. She would rather join the football team. She's been playing with her brother her entire life, and honestly, she's kind of better than some of the guys on the team. It's the perfect solution, or at least it would be if her joining didn't inspire several other girls to sign up as well, including her crush and the girl she got into a fight with in the first place. Wait a second, Evelyn, did you really just recommend me 2 books about girls playing football back to back? Yeah, I did. What are you gonna do about it? Read them both? You should. Now, admittedly, that's not where the similarities between these 2 books end. They both address navigating your queerness in a small community, and Jack and Mara both face misogyny from their teammates and their communities by daring to play football as a girl, but where home field advantage is a lot more about traditional high school social dynamics and turning those on their head, unpacking the cheerleader trope as well. Mara's story is a lot more about her own internalized misogyny and having to face up against that when she is sort of clumped in with these other girls, which she hates, having to decide whether she's going to work with them for the benefit of the entire team or struggle to separate herself from them and prove that she's better than them. That's such a compelling narrative, especially when you pair it with the fact that Mara is a lesbian and she's butch and she's struggled with people trying to feminize her entire life, and some of that internalized misogyny stems from trying to protect herself from femininity having been weaponized against her. It is such a great story, and it feels really girl powery, but in a way that addresses the multifaceted ways that one can be a girl. And I just love it so much. You know what I forgot? I forgot that I literally own a copy of this book. Hold up the books that you own, Evelyn. Look at this gorgeous cover. Look at these gorgeous, gorgeous sporty girls on the back. Woo! Next we have Cheer Up, Love and Pom-Poms by Crystal Fraiser and Val Weiss. Antisocial lesbian Annie doesn't care if other people don't like her. She likes herself. Unfortunately, she still needs an extracurricular for her college applications. At her mother's suggestion, Annie joins the cheerleading team and begins to rekindle her friendship with Bibi, the people-pleasing trans girl who's just been selected as team captain. Bibi doesn't really want to be team captain, but with her parents' support of her transition hinging on her maintaining her grades and social life, she doesn't know how to stand up for herself. It seems like this grumpy sunshine pair are exactly what each other needs. This is one of 2 graphic novels on this list. It released last year, and I was honestly surprised that more people haven't been talking about it, although I have seen a little bit of uptick in hype for it post Heartstopper TV show when people were recommending other queer graphic novels. It's very adorable, very girl power, power of friendship-y, but it does contain some blatant moments of transphobia, which may be difficult for some readers to handle. One of my favorite things is how it talks about allyship, because there are good allies and bad allies, and the bad allies are usually well-meaning, but they're not necessarily listening to what's best for the person they're trying to uplift and support. And this graphic novel does a really good job of like explaining that, illustrating that, handling that whole situation when it comes to BB's teammates, who are some of the only people who've stood up for her in their school, but also are kind of going about it in a way that she maybe isn't comfortable with. I know from personal experience it can kind of be awkward when your friends are being very obviously supportive, but in a way that sort of pushes your boundaries, where they're like, honestly, I'd be disappointed if you didn't marry a woman. It's like, whoa, 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 like dial that back, please. It's not something that I've seen addressed often in queer stories, and I really appreciated it in this one. Next we have the second graphic novel on this list, Check Please by Ngozi Ukazu, which follows Eric Biddy Biddle, a baking vlogger and former ice skating champion, as he navigates college and his own sexuality with the help of his new hockey teammates. This graphic novel comes in 2 volumes, book 1, #hockey, and book 2, Sticks and Scones. I got really into these right at the beginning of the pandemic when I was forced to flee the University of Iowa campus and was stranded alone here in my room in Oklahoma, missing my college friends. I saw that this was set in college and I was like, I don't even care that it's about sports. I really, really miss being on campus, and I want something that understands the freshman mindset, and this was it. And I've now become convinced that if there's any sport that I could really get into, it would be hockey. I have never been to a hockey game. I was fully like 17 years old before I even saw like an ice stadium, but apparently we have a team at Iowa, and before I graduate, I'm telling you, I'm gonna get into hockey, I guess. While the male characters in a lot of these books are the absolute worst, I find the Samuel men's hockey team to be charmingly boys will be boysy, if that makes sense at all. This is also unintentionally the only book with a male protagonist on this list. Sorry boys, bye boys. Last but certainly not least, we have She Drives Me Crazy by Kelly Quindlen. When Scotty Zajac gets into a fender bender with popular cheer captain Irene Abraham, their meddling mothers force them to carpool until Irene's car gets out of the shop. One carpool with Irene makes Scotty the talk of the school, and she realizes this might be the perfect opportunity to get back at her toxic, popularity-obsessed ex. All she needs to do is to get Irene to pretend to be her girlfriend, which would be a lot easier if they didn't kind of hate each other. This book is the sapphic, hate-to-love, fake dating, basketball, cheerleader romance of my dreams. I adore it so much. Irene Abraham is one of my favorite love interests in all of YA contemporary, and she is single-handedly responsible for the amount of cheerleader representation on this sports book recommendation list, because cheerleading 110% counts as a sport, and she and I will not hear any arguments otherwise. Thank you very much. Also, one of the few things about actual sports culture that I really find fascinating is mascots. Racist caricatures notwithstanding, I think it's so fun how weird they can get. Maybe it's just the Disney parks nerd in me trying to find a way to relate my interest to sports, but also I follow Gritty on TikTok, and absolutely insane but perfect content right there. I bring this up because in She Drives Me Crazy, they're the fighting reindeers, because the most notable thing in their town is this Christmas store, and that's the kind of contemporary world building that I love to see. It's so specific and wonderful and made me giggle like every time I read Fighting Reindeers. I love that in a book that obviously has a lot of love for high school sports culture, Kelly Quindlen was still able to sort of poke fun at the absurd parts of it too. And there you have it, 5 surprisingly queer sports books that I loved and think you will as well. If you like this video, remember to leave it a big thumbs up. I've got even more recommendations videos coming up this summer. Just a quick glance at the calendar tells me we've got my most anticipated releases for the second half of the year. LGBT books, books set at both summer camps and boarding schools. You don't want to miss any of it, so remember to click that subscribe button and ring that bell icon to be notified whenever I upload a new video. With that being said, my name is Evelyn. I make new videos every magical Monday, and I'll see you real soon. Bye-bye!